What if I told you the biggest lies on TV aren't the ones being told? They are the ones being allowed. What if I told you a woman was jailed for defrauding millions, but the people who gave her the microphone, the stage, the airtime walked away untouched? This isn't a conspiracy, it's a mirror, and the reflection is Ghana. They called her Madame Serafina. By day, she was just another woman in the room, humble, motherly, soft-spoken. But when the studio lights came on, she transformed into fire, into prophecy, into power. Her voice didn't just echo through speakers. It moved through hearts, through hope, through televisions, in kiosk marketplaces, homes with cracked windows and broken antennas, patched with foil. She wasn't just a TV figure. She was the voice of breakthrough. Send your seed, she declared, and watch the heavens open. And people believed. See, they didn't just watch the show, they lived by it. Mothers, taxi drivers, students, market women, all sending money. They all sending money through mobile money numbers displayed boldly on the screen. Not once, not subtly, but boldly and repeated. The banks were watching too, because they'll be getting their share. Not the heavens, but the transactions. One Sunday alone, over 100,000 seeds received during her healing through transfer episode. She didn't hide it. She celebrated it, danced about it, said it was a harvest. But then the messages began. A widow sent her last pension and died of hunger 2 weeks later. Her father sold his tools, hoping for a miracle return that never came. A student dropped out after sending her school fees twice. People begged for refund. Some prayed harder. Others simply disappeared into thin air. They disappeared into despair. But the station didn't blink. The producers smiled. Sponsors renewed. Audience grew. And through it all, sat one man, Kwame Lezon, her co-host, a former actor turned smooth-talking side. Now he handed microphones like menus in a restaurant. He laughed when Serafina said heaven used MTN. He nodded when she promised resurrection to those who sent airtime. He passed the studio phone when she claimed someone's cancer had vanished after a 50 cedi. He was there 24/7, every single time. And someone else was watching too. Ama, a young journalist, unknown, underpaid, overworked, writing for an online paper with more ads than readers. But she saw the clips and she saw the problem. It wasn't just Serafina, it was the silence. The co-hosts, the crew, the people who stood beside the fraud, smiling. Why is no one asking him? Amma whispered. The day the authorities finally came for Serafina, it rained. Some said it was divine judgment. Others said it was a drone strike. Either way, she was arrested. The changes, fraud, spiritual manipulation, illegal fundraising, the endangerment. The evidence was overwhelming. Voice recordings, Momo receipts, edited videos promising double harvest within 48 hours. She was sentenced 15 years. And then silence. No mention of the station, no investigation of the producers, no statement from Kwame Lezon, just a single press release. We are saddened by these events and were unaware of any wrongdoing. Within 3 weeks, the station launched a new show, Faith and Finance. Same time slot, same set, same Kwame, new prophetess. Amma sat at her desk, notebook open, voice shaking, eyes clear. At first I was jailed, but the people who gave her the platform walked free. So Amma did what few dared to do. She wrote a story, not an article, not a blog, a story, a mirror. The real crime wasn't the lie she wrote. It was the silence of those who helped broadcast it. It went viral. Hashtag exploded. Hashtag who held the camera. Hashtag justice for the system. Hashtag the mic is guilty too. The media house sent her cease and desist. Amma smiled. She licked the emails, the contracts, the scripts with donation prompts written in bold. Her paper was shut down, but her story lived. 1 year later, Serafina's case sparked national debate, not because of the prosecution, but because of a single story written by a girl with truth in her bones, and a question that refused to die. When lies are televised, who owns the lie? The speaker or the system that aired it. Now, you might think that story is fiction, but if you lived in Ghana long enough, you know it's a reflection. And today, on the David 360 show, we need to talk about that reflection. The real life version, the headlines behind the headlines. We need to talk about Nana Agradaa and the silent systems that made it possible. We need to talk. Was justice served? Just seen? Let's cut through the headlines. Yes, Nana Agradaa, now evangelist, known as Evangelist Pat, was convicted for defrauding people through her widely televised Sikagari spiritual scheme. That match is on record. The courts have spoken. Justice was done, or at least partly. But let's be honest, you don't build a pyramid alone. So here's a question that's been echoing in the minds of many Ghanaians, but rarely spoken out. Where were the gatekeepers, the platform providers, the co-hosts, the producers, the regulators, the man behind the message? Across the country, many viewers remember programs not just because of Agrada's words, but for the other faces in the room, the hosts, hype men, and sometimes even media personalities who engage with callers, asking leading questions, and sometimes reinforce the spiritual narrative in so. Now, I'm not here to assign guilt. That's not my job. But I'm here to ask what any critical citizen should be asking. When a scam is carried out in front of cameras, is the only guilty party the one speaking while everyone else is framed works free? If Ghana's Criminal Offences Act includes provision on aiding and abetting, and if it defines abetment or encouragement, assisting or facilitating a crime, then doesn't the public have a right to ask whether others have been investigated? Again, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's about asking honest, uncomfortable questions. The broadcast behind the curtain. This wasn't a backroom WhatsApp scam or an underground cult. This was primetime television. Multiple episodes, high definition production, massive audiences. Let's ask ourselves, were the TV station executives unaware of the content? Did the producers never raise a red flag? Were there no advertisers, no sponsors, no camera crew who found it strange that people were sending money expecting supernatural returns? We need to talk. Ghana's Electronic Communications Act clearly gives the National Communications Authority power to regulate broadcast content, especially content that could exploit or deceive the public. So either the broadcasters didn't know, which is hard to believe, or they knew and chose to look away. And if that's true, shouldn't someone somewhere be asking why? Is justice a performance? Here is where it gets even more complex. When justice only catches the face of the system, but not the hands that held the mic or the platform that streamed the act, we risk turning the courtroom into a stage and the law into one act play. Because real justice doesn't end with a single conviction. It traces the ecosystem that made it possible. The system that gave a microphone to manipulation. The media engine that turned deception into content. The silence of regulators who had the tools but never used them. So I asked again, not as a judge, not as a lawyer, but as a citizen content creator. Was this truly justice or just a show? If Ghana truly wants to mature into a transparent, just society, this moment should spark more than speech. It should spark reform. It's not about revenge. It's not even about blame. It's about accountability at every level. Media houses that give questionable voices unlimited, hosts who blur the lines between showbiz and spiritual manipulation, regulatory bodies that act after the damage is done. Because if we continue punishing only the loudest voice and ignore those who turn up the volume, we haven't solved the problem. We have just moved it. See, this episode isn't just about one woman. It's about how easily deception flourishes when platforms refuse to ask questions. So let's stop asking who got caught and start asking who got away and why. This has been We Need to Talk on the David 360 Show.